There are indications of progress on a deal to free some of the 239 Israelis being held hostage in Gaza by Hamas, which is designated as a terrorist organisation by the UK. In the last few hours, the Israeli military has released footage which it says shows a 55-metre-long tunnel built by Hamas beneath Al-Shifa hospital. Here you can see the tunnel shaft entrance among the rubble of the hospital complex there. The Israeli military has also released CCTV images it says shows hostages abducted by Hamas on October the 7th being brought into Al-Shifa. Orla Guerin's report now from Jerusalem contains distressing images from the very beginning.
Every day, more dead in Gaza. Some who barely started living. This footage was filmed for the BBC today in Han Yunis in the south. Israel told people to flee here to be safer. The bereaved get one last look. And a father, one last embrace. The agony of Samir Jamil Aga, cradling his 5-year-old son, Mohammed. Then his other son is brought to him, 6-year-old Samir. He can't bear to let him go. Parted forever. Palestinians say the boys were among 30 people killed when Israel bombed several houses in Han Yunis. But finally, hope for about 30 premature babies. Doctors in southern Gaza working to stabilise them ahead of a transfer to Egypt tomorrow. 8 others have died. These are the survivors of war and of the horrors of Al-Shifa hospital. Even the water used for their formula was contaminated, says Dr. Mohammed Sakut, and there was no proper sterilisation. They suffered from vomiting, diarrhoea and weight loss. Some had blood poisoning and severe infections. Back at Al-Shifa, Israel has issued this video as it comes under pressure to justify its raid on the hospital. It says this tunnel leads to a blast-proof door of the kind used by Hamas for its command centres. And more video, this time CCTV, which Israel says shows 2 hostages being bundled into Al-Shifa on October 7th, one of them wounded. At this stage, we can't verify any of the army video. In Israel, many are still enveloped by grief, still mourning those killed by Hamas. Among the dead, a passionate peace campaigner. Vivian Silver was a Canadian-Israeli activist. If Palestinians were allowed into Israel for medical treatment, she drove them to hospital. After Hamas attacked her kibbutz near the Gaza border, there was little of her left to bury. Her son, Jonathan, said her peace movement had been orphaned by her death. Her clear voice had been silenced. But fellow campaigners told us they will keep going.
It's very hard to us, but the way of Vivian gives us the hope for all of us here to see all these people that we must walk in the way of the peace.
Do you think that is still possible now with Israel and the Palestinians?
We must believe in this way because this is the solution.
But Israel's peace camp has been dwindling for years. Since October 7th, it is reeling.
Because of Vivian.
Another war is underway in Gaza, something Vivian Silver hoped would not be repeated. The grief here is for a beloved mother and grandmother, but also for a vision of a different future. Well, there are growing indications tonight, Clive, that a deal on the release of Israel's hostages is close. Still nothing official, but we've had positive comment today from Israel's ambassador in the United States, from a senior US national security official, and critically from Qatar, which has been playing a central role in mediation. Qatar's Prime Minister said today that the negotiations had been up and down, but at this stage, all that really remained in terms of stumbling blocks were logistical and practical issues. Now, we're expecting that a deal, if and when it comes, will involve the release of a few dozen Israeli women and children. In return, Israel would release Palestinian women and children from Israeli prisons. There would be a pause in the fighting, perhaps 3 days, perhaps 5, and that would allow desperately needed humanitarian aid to get into Gaza because, as you will remember, the UN has been warning that 2.2 million Palestinians are in danger of starvation. Now, for the families waiting for news tonight, every night is an agony, worrying that their loved ones could be killed by Hamas or by Israel's own airstrikes.